got a couple of treats on the channel today. I've got two watches. I've got this one and I've got this one here. This one here I was expecting, this one here I wasn't. It's a bit of a treat because it's chocolate. Now I like chocolate on dials. I had a SIN 556 back in the day, and I think maybe Heinrich has sent this watch in as a teaser. I'm not going to spend much time on it because I was actually more keen on looking at this, but whilst I'm on this, it's a chocolate dial. I've already reviewed this particular collection. I actually like the black and white tuxedo version. I think that was very smart, and this one here in my eye seems to be just as nice. It's chocolate. Now who doesn't like chocolate? So nonetheless, I took a couple of quick snaps on this just to see how it behaves in outside light, and it seems to be very attractive. But put all that aside, I'm here for this. This is the Helicoprion model, and it has a very interesting dial. In fact, I was a little bit unsure about getting this on because I thought the renders really didn't do this justice. It didn't do anything for me, and I thought, you know what, for the benefit of the doubt, send one down, let me have a look. It's been quite interesting because it's been a very dark, sort of a moody dial, but when you take this outdoors, especially in the sunlight, it comes alive. And it's a bit of a surprise because there's some elements that are shining off this, and I thought, wow, this is quite interesting. So the comfort and joy has been as I come to expect from this particular model, because I actually like this model and I think its dimensions seem to work very well. But there has been a couple of things that I've noticed on this particular watch that they've sent me, which I want to share with you guys, because sometimes you might get a watch in the hand and some things might go wrong, like this is stiff or this is not working, and this is what's happened with this watch, and I want to share that with you, with my experience with this and what I think might have happened. But nonetheless, you saw the pop-up. Heinrich has sponsored this video, so I will of course leave all the appropriate links in the description section. If you're interested in any of these watches, by all means feel free to check them out. Now when it comes to gemstone dials, or dials that offer something a little bit different, something more unique, it is a hit and miss, and I've said this before in certain videos that you can either get it right or wrong. And for me, looking at their website renders, I actually didn't think much of this dial. I hesitated, I thought yes, no, yes, no. The watch is now here, and that dial has been a surprise. Something that I didn't actually see in the renders, and I don't think you can capture that on a website, because the elements of this dial is composed of zirconium and titanium. It's basically a solid rod with these elements infused in one another, and they've sliced individual dials to make these watches. Now in doing a process like that, every individual dial and watch is going to be unique. That's a given. And that's the beauty, I think, of us getting stone dials, and something that offers a uniqueness to the watch that you're going to actually get. Now the dimensions of this watch have not changed. It's still a 40mm case diameter with a lug-to-lug of 48, and that oversized crown at 6.9mm has also been a pleasure to use. Now on the wrist, this is a sweet spot for me. I like this size, I think it works well, it's very comfortable. The balance on that bracelet seems to be very good in conjunction with that watch head, and overall the experience has been what I've come to expect from this particular model, the Helicoprion. Now looking closer at the hero of this watch, which is that dial, there's like a metallic grain running through the veins of that dial. For a better word, it changes the character of the watch as light changes, and it's subtle enough, but it also grabs your attention, especially in sunlight. When the sun's beaming down on this dial, you can really get a gauge of metal, and it gives a very unusual industrious look to that watch. Now the double dome box sapphire crystal on this watch, having that little bit of blue anti-reflective coating, I've complained about it in the past on certain particular dials. On this one it works. Blue on blue works, it's basically disappeared. It's so subtle that it's actually disappeared, blended into that dial, for a better word. Turning the watch over, you'll notice that solid case back. Again, behind that case back is the Sellita SW200-1. It's an elaborate grade, regulated in 4 positions, and this particular one I have in my hand has also been running Sublime. And apart from the dial variants on this watch, there really hasn't been much change, because even the lume has remained the same. It's still got Swiss Superluminova BGW9. It's relatively bright and legible, and I say that because it's not overly done, but it's also not been neglected. For a general style sports watch like this, it's more than sufficient. Now lastly, before I get onto any gripes or room for improvement, the price of this watch, from what I can see from their website, it's 1,380 Australian dollars. That's just over 900 USD. And for me, it's not an inexpensive watch, but having the Swiss Sellita as well as a stone dial, or in this case, zirconium and titanium, I think that's pretty much on par. And honestly, we've seen watches across the board go up in price, from major brands, independents, micro brands, it doesn't matter. Everything's gone up with tariffs and what have you, so on that regard, I think this watch's price has remained pretty good. Now at the start of this video, I did mention that sometimes you get a watch and things happen where something's a little stiff or a little tight, and I want to share that. And that's with this particular model. In my room for improvement section, I only say specific because When this watch arrived, two things I noticed. Number one, unscrewing the screws on this bracelet, two of them were a little bit stiff and gritty. In other words, they were difficult to unscrew, they were difficult to get out. The other screws were great, but these particular two were stiff. And sometimes when a bracelet or a case, it gets machined and it gets finished, there's grit, there's very fine metallic fragments or dust that can get left over as residue. And that's what I noticed inside two of the screws. Now, was that a deal breaker? If I was to buy a watch like this, was that a deal breaker? Well, I took the screws out, I gave them a clean, gave the little holes a bit of a blowout, put the screws back in, no problems. So it did rectify that problem, but I'm sharing it with you guys because sometimes we get watches like that, and I want to expand on that in a second because the crown as well was gritty. The crown, unscrewing that crown, it popped out, but it had this sort of grittiness to it. I hacked it, I got some dental floss, I wrapped it around, I gave it a slight clean, perfect. Again, grit, grime, and that can come down to quality control issues, and I can turn around to Heinrich and say, come on, honestly, you should be looking out for stuff like that. Or maybe this watch was rushed out to me so that I can get it on review, because obviously the watch has just been released. They send them out to reviewers. I don't know, but that is a few little things that did catch me by surprise initially, because the watch in general, these watches have been great, the ones I've gotten from Heinrich. So that was a bit of a surprise to me. Now, the reason I mentioned all this to you guys regarding getting something and sometimes it's stiff or this, it happens. Whether it should happen or not, I think it shouldn't personally. I think when something leaves, the company to be sent out to the consumer, it should be finalized. There should be quality control checked. And this is one area where I think this particular watch has slipped through the cracks. And I'm mentioning this for Heinrich's sake so that you can know the watch has been great, the dial's been great. This little thing, and I thought, okay, I'm in watches, so I know what I'm talking about, and I know what I've experienced things like this in the past. Someone who's a newbie might get a watch like this and thinking, oh, it's stiff or it's this or that, this is no good, and live with it, and that's terrible. So I'm just trying to bring some information as well as some feedback to Heinrich or potential brands that are sending us watches. Make sure that the watches have been thoroughly cleaned and checked, because apart from that, both of these watches have been fantastic. And it's a shame to have a little thing like that sometimes slip through the cracks, but I'm glad it did because it got me an opportunity to actually share some stuff with you guys for awareness sake. So hit me up in the comments, let me know what you think about this particular watch, or these two watches, that beautiful chocolate radiance, as well as a very unusual zirconium titanium variant of the Helicoprion, appropriately called Zircuti if I'm pronouncing that right. I've actually enjoyed this metallic grain that's running through the veins of that dial, especially outdoors. And the fact that it changes its mood and becomes more subdued and dark in other environments, that it hides its true character unless the sun comes out and beams on that dial. And that brings a nice and welcome visual delight. So thank you for watching. Continue to enjoy the hobby, continue to enjoy your families and the things that are special to you and your loved ones. And we'll see you in the next one.